Lionel Messi didn't play when Argentina faced Indonesia in a friendly game on June 20th, 2023. The official word was that he was resting. But for a player of his caliber, known for his relentless drive, that explanation felt a little thin. It sparked a quiet, whispered theory among football fans. What if it wasn't about a physical rest, but something else entirely? A desire to avoid a country with a reputation for playing elephant football? This might sound like a wild, baseless accusation, but once you dive into the bizarre, often embarrassing history of Indonesian football, it starts to make a weird kind of sense. It's a story of match fixing so blatant and absurd that it has become part of the nation's sporting identity. And in a world where a player's reputation is everything, even a hint of association with such a history could be a risk not worth taking. To understand why Messi might have hesitated to play in Indonesia, you first need to understand the term Sepakbola Gajah. This Indonesian slang, which translates to elephant football, is a colloquial term for a match that is so obviously fixed that it's almost comical. The name's origin is said to come from traveling circuses, where elephants were trained to perform tricks, including playing football. The animals would clumsily go through the motions, and while it was entertaining, everyone knew it was just a performance. There was no real competition, no real effort. It was fake. That's exactly what Indonesians mean when they use the term. It's not just cheating. It's a form of cheating so clumsy and unashamed that it feels like a slap in the face to everyone watching. It's cheating as a performance art. The most famous, and arguably the most damaging, example of Sepakbola Gajah occurred on August 31st, 1998, during the Tiger Cup, now the AFF Championship. It was a group stage match between Indonesia and Thailand. On paper, it was a regular game, but the stakes were anything but. The tournament format was set up in a bizarre way. The winner of this particular match would have to face the host nation, Vietnam, in the semifinals. Vietnam was considered a formidable opponent with a massive home field advantage. The loser, on the other hand, would play against Singapore, a team widely believed to be much easier to beat. Both teams looked at the situation and decided the same thing. It was better to lose. What followed was one of the most absurd displays of non-competition in football history. As the game drew to a close with the score tied at 2-2, the players began to actively avoid scoring. They were passing the ball back and forth, trying to goad the other team into scoring. It was a chaotic, embarrassing farce. Then, in the 89th minute, Indonesian defender Mursyid Effendi took matters into his own hands. In a move that has been immortalized in viral video clips, he got the ball near his own penalty box and, with no one pressuring him, deliberately and with perfect form, kicked it into his own net. The most surreal part? Footage shows the Thai players awkwardly trying to stop him. Thai forward third Sak Chaman even attempted to tackle Effendi to prevent the own goal. It was a bizarre spectacle of two teams desperately trying to outlose each other in front of international cameras. The aftermath was swift and brutal. FIFA, the world's governing body of football, saw the incident as a complete mockery of the sport. They banned Mursyid Effendi from international football for life and fined both countries $40,000, while Effendi became the international face of the scandal. He later claimed he never even received an official letter from FIFA about his ban. leaving him as the public scapegoat for a team-wide conspiracy. The incident left a permanent stain on Indonesian football's reputation. You'd think a lesson like the 1998 incident would be enough, but you would be wrong. 16 years later, Sepakbola Gajah made a shocking return. In October 2014, during a playoff match in the Indonesian Second Division, two clubs, PSS Sleman and PSIS Semarang, faced each other with a similar bizarre incentive to lose. They were playing to avoid facing a feared team called Pusamania Borneo FC, who were rumored to have powerful backing and a reputation for dirty play. What ensued was a match that made the 1998 incident look like a subtle ballet. In the final minutes of the game, players from both teams began scoring own goals with a frantic intensity. PSS Sleman scored 3 own goals in a row. Then PSIS Semarang responded with 2 of their own. It was a hilarious, humiliating, and completely transparent attempt to throw the game. The final score was PSS Sleman 3-2, PSIS Semarang, with all 5 goals being own goals. The Indonesian Football Association, PSSI, was so mortified that they disqualified both clubs entirely and handed out lengthy bans to dozens of players and officials. It was a shocking repeat of history, and the media quickly dubbed it Sepakbola Gajah Jilid 2, Elephant Football, the sequel. These two incidents, separated by more than a decade, show that Sepakbola Gajah isn't a one-off mistake. It's part of the fabric of Indonesian football. It's the country's footballing DNA. Now, let's get back to Messi. On June 20th, 2023, Messi was at the peak of his career. He had just won the World Cup, a crowning achievement that cemented his legacy as the greatest of all time. Every single game, every appearance, was now part of a perfect historical narrative. And then someone said, "Hey Leo, you're supposed to play against Indonesia." Think about that from his perspective. You've spent your entire life building a legacy of pure, honest football. Your entire brand is built on a foundation of integrity and talent. And you're scheduled to play a friendly match in a country that is internationally known for making a mockery of the sport. A country where teams openly and clumsily try to lose, where a defender once scored a legendary own goal to avoid a specific opponent. Of course, the friendly match with Argentina would likely have been completely legitimate. But why even take the risk of a remote connection to a culture of cheating? What if something weird happened? What if there was a bad call, a controversial moment, or some other minor incident that conspiracy theorists could later link to Indonesia's history of corruption? What if years down the line, a documentary about a future scandal in the country decided to include a clip of Messi playing there? It's not about accusing Indonesia of planning anything shady for this specific match. It's about a toxic reputation. When your country's footballing identity is tied to elephant football, it becomes a liability. Even the world's most famous players might look at that history and decide it's not worth the potential risk to their reputation. The official story of Messi resting is a safe, polite, and uncontroversial explanation. But the uncomfortable truth, as this theory suggests, might be far more cynical. Indonesia created Sepakbola Gajah, and in a way, they're stuck with it. And when you're famous for elephants playing football, you can't be surprised when the world's most legitimate players decide to skip the show.